Well, let's get into the agenda, shall we? Top of the agenda is Carlton's horror show at the MCG. So what was the most anticipated game of the round ended up being the blowout of the round. Beaten and bruised with a stack of injury concerns, Carlton are now out of the 8, courtesy of this all-conquering Hawthorn team.
This is just too much for Carlton fans to bear. Last week it was a missed kick after the siren. Today it's just a kick in the guts.
If you took an overall picture, I don't think really disappointment does it justice. There's probably a bit more in it. We'll find out a bit about us in the next couple of weeks. Well, let's find out a bit more about us as a team, as a club, and there's a response.
Injury crippled Carlton here at the MCG. Even in his biggest nightmares, Michael Voss could not have imagined that this would transpire today.
It will be a part of the story, the injuries, but they just weren't good enough today, Carlton.
They looked slow from the get-go, didn't they?
Yep, they weren't up for the challenge that Hawthorn threw at them.
It leaves them right on the edge of oblivion.
It's not about the level you play at for 1 week, it's about how you play that level for 23 weeks and finals. And as a football club, we haven't been able to do that yet. It wasn't here before I got here and hasn't been at a good enough standard since I've been here. So it's the way you play, it's the play availability, it's our program. We've got to get some consistency within our club.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho.
What a display by the Hawks. They have put the foot down in the second term.
And there are options everywhere for Hawthorn.
The Hawthorn party, you get the feeling it's only just beginning. That is Hawthorn to a T.
This is scintillating.
Well, what a performance. As complete as you could imagine and hope for.
People always say the season's a marathon, and our first 10K was pretty ordinary, but we've accelerated into this point, and time will tell if we get there in the end.
And they are coming to a ground near you in September.
If it's season ending, this
could be season ending, couldn't it?
Yeah, Carlton chances might go with it.
A tough one to relive for Carlton fans. Before we delve into the game, Jord, a quick check on snakes and ladders following round 22. So Carlton falling out of the 8 for just the second time this year. Hawthorn jumping into it for the first time this season. What a time to do it with 2 rounds to go. Brisbane, the big losers, dropping from 2nd to 5th, so they're out of the top 4. Port, GWS and Geelong all jumping up a spot to round out the top 4 with Sydney. And as the ladder stands, there'd be no final in Melbourne come week 1 of finals.
Not one.
It.
Well, they haven't earned it, so bad luck.
Oh, there you go. It'd be strange though, wouldn't it?
I mean, Brisbane, that's a massive loss. To top 4 in a season that is so inconsistent and up and down for everybody, to have that safety blanket as a game that you can lose but still remain in finals, that is huge.
We'll get to Brisbane shortly.
Yep.
But Carlton, before we celebrate your Hawks, and you covered the game, it felt like Hawthorn were the better side at the start of the match, and then almost Murphy's Law, everything that could go wrong went wrong for Carlton.
Yeah, it was interesting. The first quarter, when you kept on looking at the score, it was relatively close, and it didn't feel like that if you were just watching the game and watching the way that Hawthorn mainly were moving the ball in the first instance. And I look at that, and even upon reviewing that game, how much as it was the players, how much of it was the coaches to set the players up to actually succeed. Because I look at the way that they defended in particular, and they just gave Hawthorn too much time and space. Now, was that a focus going into the game to allow them to kick the ball around in the back half, allow them to have space, allow them to have uncontested marks? That is exactly what Hawthorn want. And Carlton, what we call their teasing distance, was not close enough. So to only score 38 points for the game, 2 goals after quarter time, that is not a side that is confident. It looked really clunky. So that's the Carlton point of view. Only 2 inside 50 tackles, so their pressure was non-existent, and they were made to look second-rate.
So 5 losses from their last 6 games and an injury list which really tipped into crisis territory yesterday. Is this season salvageable, or given what you're saying in the way they were playing yesterday, and then you consider all the players they are missing, is it just a little bit too hard now, do you think?
Well, you need confidence and continuity. So every side who has been in this position wants their best players playing well and their list as healthy as you possibly can. So you look at those names on there, and we're yet to find out how many games they will miss, whether they will return this season. So let's say half of them don't. It is a season that will go missing. The two sides that they're playing, they're not going to be easy beats in West Coast and St Kilda. So they are void of confidence. Their game at the moment, I mean, they were a kick away from beating Collingwood. It's not the right time to be playing this type of football.
So news today as well that Harry Mackay played through a bit of a quad issue as well. Charlie Curnow, I think I know the answer to this question if I'm going to ask you. People wondering, should he have played? But you just had to, didn't you, given what was at stake. So it's unfortunate that it didn't pay off. But you look at the injury list, so we know Curnow, Martin, all those on screen, and then they joined Doherty, Silvani, De Koning, Cottrell, Cunningham, Durden and Marchbank. So I think as a fan, you hate the injury excuse, but you want some sort of better explanation. But it's... What else does Michael Voss and Patrick Cripps do when you're missing so many of your best players? Yeah, but you can't live in the pity. You can't say what we don't have. The good sides, the really good sides, find a way, whether it's manufactured or not, to be positive, to have really good body language. And there was a point in time over the weekend where the camera panned towards the bench. Now, if you are a player that is sitting out of the game, you have to be conscious of how you look. So you can imagine a Carlton player coming towards the bench and you see Jack Martin with his hood on. Basically conceding that this game is over. This is not our day. The energy was not there, and that was as soon as he went off. So you look for those little things. Good sides, they're not showing that. They're not showing there's a level of disappointment. They are buying in 100% until the final siren goes. I thought they were defeated yesterday, both on the field and off the field. Yeah, it was interesting comments from you made during pre-game, and I think a lot of people would have agreed looking at that body language on the bench. What about your Hawks, though? I mean, on the flip side, into the 8 for the first time this year, and you almost think, does the narrative need to change here, Jord? I mean, I'm probably getting a little bit carried away, but it's not this, Hawthorn, if they make the finals, great, what a great year under Sam Mitchell. They've taken a step further to now, why can't Hawthorn win it? Yeah, well, Jack didn't commit about 5 weeks ago. He said they could win it, but they might not, or something along those lines. And he was right. I think they are going to be seriously tough. They've got to solidify a spot in the final. So they're fully aware of that and understanding this club deeply. That is exactly what they need to do, and that's exactly what they would be focused on. But, I mean, they're 10-3, and 2 of those losses to Port and the Giants were by 1 point and 2 points. So if you look at their game and you're trying to come up with a plan to beat them, where do you start? Do you start at the half forwards? Do you start at their defence in James Sicily and Weddle? Or do you start at their midfield with Will Day and the likes of those players? So what do you think? Well, I just think any side who has flexibility, any side who plays in a way that's really hard to scout, give themselves a chance. Yeah. Now, I think off the back of yesterday, their pressure was at an elite level as well. Their chase presser, their tackling. So it was pretty much a complete game yesterday. So yeah, the defence is there now too, isn't it? Because Sam Mitchell said for years now we're trying to build a brand that's going to stack up in September, and so much of it we thought was offence and their small forwards and all that, but they've got the defence there too. I mean, they haven't had a big score kicked on them in the last 5 weeks. No, probably Geelong, but you could sort of look at that and go, they had a game in Perth, 6-day turnaround, James Sicily misses, so that your leader in that environment misses. Isn't this guy a beauty? I mean, Josh Weddle, he's, as Sam Mitchell said pre-game, he's not an overthinker, which is what you like in footballers. So even if he's playing in the ruck, he tells them just before the game so he doesn't be defeated in his head. But they've got versatility. Their recruiting has been first class with D'Ambrosio, Amon, and a good story. You know, he's a great story. So everything's coming together at the right time, which is on the eve of September.